So it's just not robust enough for an environment that a firefighter is going to be in.
Which leaves his third candidate, RFID.
Which is radio frequency identification, used for access control, to get into buildings, to start automobiles.
Joe's built a receiver to show how his system could help firefighters identify each other in a smoky room.
If I take this tag, which has a unique identifier.
Access granted. Hello, Joe.
Hello. To you too. Well, we can essentially outfit each firefighter with an RFID reader, and they'll also be outfitted with tags, and each of these different tags have a unique identifier, and we'll be able to program our PyroPack system to identify each individual that the reader comes in contact with. So RFID, we're using it.
With Joe making firm decisions upstairs.
Access granted.
In the workshop, Mike is done with the upper half of the StairBot, which will carry the fireman's heavy hoses and oxygen tanks up a burning building stairway.
Of course, it'll be wrapped differently, but this whole area up here is for your hose. Flop it down. Now all the tanks are accessible. Once you're done with your tanks, you throw those out of there. And now this moves up. And now it's been transformed into a seat to take your survivor out in.
But that's only half the bill. Back to the PyroPack. Earlier in the week, the newly painted PyroPack shell came back to the island.
I didn't know it was going to be a different color. Oh.
And today, Joe's completed his RFID system. So, with only 1 day left in the build, Scott Summit comes back to help integrate all the components into the PyroPack, including Joe's custom electronics.
All right, I got all the parts for the PyroPack.
Yeah, you do.
Ready to go.
That looks delicate. A lot of pieces.
First, Joe and Scott install the circuit board that will control all of the PyroPack's high-tech features. Then they run cables for each component and connect them all to the board.
Where does this go?
So that goes in to that one. Yeah.
Okay, should we go?
And once the last wire is in place, a battery is connected and a thermal imaging headset that will be attached to Joe's mask and worn under his helmet, allowing him to see in a smoky building, is fully operational.
Power's up.
Yeah, there we go.
You're kidding, you serious? It's working?
I can see you.
So, after a few minutes of final tweaks, Joe pulls on his firefighter turnout gear, and Mike and Scott rig up the future fireman for the first time. The pack.
This actually fits better now with the turnouts on than it did without.
It should.
Yeah.
Then the arm piece with RFID reader. And it all looks great.
We just put on the pack for the first time with full turnouts. Everything's pretty much ready to go. We're just doing the final kind of touches and tweaks to get everything ready for the payoff tomorrow.
One last test, the mask and headset.
Yeah, let's do real air, because then you'll be able to see the oxygen level on the screen going down.
So you gotta reach back and you gotta turn your tank on.
The airflow to the mask works, and after adjustments to the position of the eyepiece.
Right now we're just doing a little adjustments here. You know, this is really the first time we've got it all on.
The headset gets the green light.
Everything works. It's cool. I can see the thermal imaging camera. Everywhere I move my head, I see the image on the heads-up display. And all the other information is just displayed on overlay, a little bar right along the bottom.
Now that the PyroPack's almost complete, the StairBot has some catching up to do. A few days ago, Zaz finalized his control system electronics, giving the StairBot an easy-to-use throttle. Now he's down in the workshop attaching the joystick to the StairBot. Then he snaps together the electronics. But as soon as the controls are integrated...
Hold on.
The unstable StairBot starts hissing and whining. And Terry notices that something is seriously amiss.
Once we got it all together, we realized that there were a couple of things. As far as balance, getting the batteries in there, it becomes a little unwieldy.
On the StairBot, seems like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Yesterday, had it all assembled, had the module on top of it. The base was ready to go, and now in the shop, and the base is completely taken apart, and the module's off it, all the gear's off it, and it seems like where we were 3 days ago. Taken apart in pieces in the shop.
This ain't going nowhere. This ain't going nowhere fast.
Terry's got a plan to fix it, but it's a long recipe.
I'm looking to look at putting an idler pulley also in the tank tread. Now the chain is stretching out a little bit. It's weird to see what was originally here 5 minutes ago is now gone, and there's a tread base left. So we're going to look at putting in basically a chain tensioner and then finalizing where the batteries go and where the controllers go.
And that's got the rest of the team worried.
There's a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it.
It's a little scary right now.
We have to show up at this place at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and be ready for a demonstration of both of our projects. And we might only show up with one.
We're screwed.
Coming up,
The Pyro Pack is totally done. The Stairbot, not so done.
is Terry's robotic fireman a bust? And Joe shows off his pyro pack. Will the firefighters walk away impressed or just walk away? There's one last chance for the prototypers' latest project to be fully realized. They're working on a new way to help firefighters with two inventions. A pyro pack that replaces the firefighter's heavy pack with a sleek new design full of high-tech innovations. And a Stairbot to assist in hauling gear up flights in a burning building and bring helpless victims back down. After successfully integrating all the electronics, half of the build is ready to go.
Everything works, it's cool. I can see the thermal imaging camera. Everywhere I move my head, I see the image on the heads-up display.
The Pyro Pack is totally done. The Stairbot, not so done.
But reworking of the Stairbot turned an afternoon of last-minute adjustments into overtime for the team.
Part of the prototyping process, a lot of times things just come down to the 11th hour, scrambling to get stuff done. I hope that we can pull it off and bring 2 completed prototypes to the firefighters.
And as night becomes early morning, they're able to put the bot back together again.
I think we're back on track. I think this will come together really, really quickly, and then we can at least go home and get a couple hours of sleep.
And once they've reinstalled the seat and firefighter gear, they call it a very late night.
That is so great.